of our series of pop artists and pop culture artists that we've had going on through the Wizard World virtual experiences. It's been a great experience for us to be able to bring to you these Q&As that represent everything that goes on at Wizard World shows. Celebrities, yes, but also artists and authors and costume contests and karaoke and pretty much anything that happens at the Wizard World show. We want to bring some of those things to you here at Wizard World Virtual Experiences. And we appreciate you joining us tonight for what I think will be a fun discussion. And whether you're watching on Twitch or on Facebook or on YouTube, go on ahead into the chat room right now. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put those questions in. We have some folks looking at that. We'll take the best ones. We'll get to as many of those as we can in the next 30, 35 minutes or so, and hope that you have a great time, as much of a great time as we've had bringing these to you all through this spring and summer. Just want to let you know, coming up on Wizard World Virtual Experiences in the next few days, we've got a great schedule. On Thursday, we have the cast of The Nanny show, which is one that a lot of folks are looking forward to. Thursday evening, we have Whiz Quiz with Mike Gregoric, today's birthday boy. So make sure you wish Mike a happy birthday if you're in the chat rooms. Mike will be doing that Whiz Quiz on Thursday. Then on Friday, it's X-Men animated series. We'll have some of the folks from that, both the voice actors and one of the writers of that series, which will be a lot of fun. Saturday, it's the Lego Masters. So we delve into the world of the reality shows with the Lego Masters. And then August 22nd, we have the cast of Smallville. That's including Tom Welling. That's including Erica Durance, including Michael Rosenbaum. So that's going to be a big one. We have a bunch more that are going to be announced really soon. So be sure to check wizardworldvirtual.com for all the news on what's happening at Wizard World Virtual Experiences, as well as the upcoming events and the those celebrity events that you can purchase, the celebrity one-on-ones, as well as autographs and the signed recorded videos that they'll do for you as well. Also go to the Wizard World Vault. The Wizard World Vault has everything in pop culture we've collected over the last 20 plus years of doing Wizard World shows, which we can't wait to get back to actually doing shows. But in the meantime, these virtual experiences have been kind of, keeping us going, keeping you going. And we're really pleased and proud to be able to bring them to you. Tonight, we have a gentleman who's worked in, he worked in social media and digital marketing for a while. Then he decided he was going to build his own dream in the art world. He's done commissioned work for more than 250 artists, or for more than 250 athletes across just about every sport you can name all across the world. He's also been one of the artists tabbed by the Topps company that makes baseball cards. 20 artists across the world were commissioned to create 20 reimagined baseball cards. So it's a series of what will be 400 cards. We're about halfway through, and now residing in New York. Here is the great Blake Jamieson.
What is up? How you doing, Jerry?
Blake, how are you? Good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise, man. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to tonight, and looking forward to a big reveal tonight we're going to have here at Wizard World Virtual Experiences. Your next card in the series, your 10th, so you'll be halfway through, the great Ted Williams card. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that in a little bit. But first of all, welcome to Wizard World Virtual Experiences. Excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Wanted to just real quick, you're in the New York area. I'm in the New York area. We had that Hurricane Isaias come through. Everything okay? All your stuff stayed on the walls?
Yeah, we survived. Yeah.
Good. Us as well here. So you quit. I want to call it a boring marketing job. You quit your marketing job when you turned 30. You said, all this artwork that I'm doing for these guys, I want to do it for myself. Mm-hmm. How did that work out? What was the epiphany made you come to that conclusion? And how has that worked out for you the last 5 or so years?
Yeah. Well, working in digital marketing, when I graduated college, it was kind of a Wild West. There was really no rules and nobody knew how to do it. So we were kind of figuring it out as we went. And so I was basically managing social media channels on behalf of clients and brands across Facebook, or getting them on Twitter. And those are kind of the primary platforms. So that did allow me to be somewhat creative. I got to do some graphic design, some creative writing, copywriting stuff. But it was only creatively stimulating for so long. And then it just kind of really started to feel like a job. And so I just found myself, I turned 30 and decided that looking forward to weekends and dreading Mondays wasn't the way that I wanted to live my life. So I left that job and ended up deciding to pursue art full time. And it's been a roller coaster of 5 years, but definitely overall positive.
Now, you've done a lot of sports stuff. You've done a lot of non-sport stuff. what are some of the inspirations? I know that's kind of a broad question, but what are some inspirations for you just in general in your work before we get specifically into some of the things we're going to talk about later?
Um, I think that like the magic in art is just making something from nothing is just inspiring in itself and really satisfying for me. From being inspired by other artists, I look at Andy Warhol and am inspired by him not only in the art that he created, but also in the brand that he built. And I think that that's something that differentiates me from a lot of artists that might have taken a more traditional path of going to art school and getting formal training and then going the traditional art route. I definitely did not do that. I'm all self-taught and taught from YouTube and, trial and error. And so I've kind of, because I think that my technical artistic abilities were the bottleneck, and something like digital marketing was a strength of mine, I've always kind of leaned on that side of my skill set to build a brand. And so I look at someone like Andy Warhol and what he did for building his brand, I think goes well beyond the art that he made. Same with like Shepard Fairey is a good example of kind of a very urban street artist turned like more now traditional fine art gallery world. He kind of has crossed over to that barrier. And we see the same thing with like Banksy, for example, anarchist, out in the streets, putting up these crazy, controversial sometimes or polarizing pieces of art. And now people are cutting out the walls and they're taking them to Sotheby's auctions and selling them for millions of dollars. So it's always interesting seeing the artists that are doing a good job, both in the art side of things and then also in the brand building stuff. So I think that that's also inspiring. And that's part of the reason that, like you said, I've painted a lot of things that are not athletes, but athletes has been kind of my primary niche is how I market myself. And that's not because I only enjoy painting athletes. It's strictly because I understand that having a specialty and a niche is important in terms of building my own brand. And that's where, that's what I've tried to carve out until now.
And how did that part of it get started? Did you have kind of a first one that you did, and then they said, oh, you got to have this guy, and then all of a sudden you've got 10 people calling you wanting that?
Yeah, it was honestly, I got really lucky with the sports stuff. So I worked in digital marketing. When I got out of that and into art full time, I actually focused on making art for offices. So I was working with a lot of like PR firms, marketing agencies, tech companies. And my niche at the time was making, cool, hip, inspiring art for the office. And that went pretty well because I had the community already built there. A lot of people wanted to support me following my dreams. And I was delivering art to a client in Las Vegas, and really like luck of the draw. I met this guy named Jared Faison. He is an ex-NFL player. Now he manages NFL clients. And he really liked my work. And he's like, man, you should get into painting for athletes. I'm like, of course, I'd love to do that if I knew how. And he's like, well, let me introduce you to a couple of my clients, paint for them for free for the first 3 of them. And this is going to lead to like more, referral business for you. So I did my first couple of athletes were free. Jared helped me get them in their hands and like encourage them to like promote on social media. And it just kind of snowballed from there, to be honest. And I still do some strategic gifting where I'll find a specific player on a team and offer them a painting in exchange for some promotion on social media. I'm very fortunate now where I'm in a position where I don't have to do that as often as I used to. But, if you look at my entire Rolodex of who I've painted about 400 athletes now, and probably a little bit less than half of them were strategic gifts that I was doing to build my brand. And again, that kind of goes back to like the business side of things and the business experience and me understanding that growing my business and brand is just as important as becoming a better painter.
And I was going to bring this up later when we talk more in depth on the Tops Project 2020 that you're involved in. But I think out of the 20 artists, you probably have the biggest, I'd say the most active presence on social media, where you're showing yourself signing cards and showing yourself putting cards in envelopes. Like you're showing yourself doing everything that when a fan has purchased a card of yours or something of yours, not only that, they're getting to see you like in action in a way. Is that part of your overall strategy on that?
Yeah. I mean, again, like that side of like the digital marketing content and sharing the whole part of the process, the whole experience is something that comes really natural to me because I've done that for so long for other brands. So it really doesn't feel like extra work for me. I know that for some artists, it can be, especially when you're a one-man show, which I was for a long time. I know that it can be daunting to try and be everywhere, managing all these different social media platforms and responding to people and whatever. But like I said, like I'm really lucky in that I did have the marketing experiences that I had before I was an artist. And so it really all comes pretty easy, and it's simple because like everything's happening. I'm signing the cards and I'm packing them up in envelopes and I'm going to UPS to ship them and dealing with all of that. And so it's just a matter of like turning my phone on and recording it. And then in terms of like the engagement stuff, like I love within the card collecting community, everyone has just been so nice and supportive and also like excited to be a part of the process. So like sometimes if I'm painting one of my cards, I'll actually paint multiple versions, and then I will let the crowd, the social media people decide which one I submit to Tops. And so that's fun because it makes sure that like I stay in touch with the end customers, right, that are going to be buying these cards from Tops. It also gets them a little bit more excited and kind of bought into the process because they're like, I picked that Ichiro card, and that's the reason, I'm part of the reason why that got printed at Tops, which is true. So it's really like, it's a win-win. It makes them feel special. It makes me feel like tapped in and in touch, I guess, with the hobby community. And so it's been fun.
So what's one of the cards was the Ryan? What was one of the cards that you presented to fans as a choice, and how different?
I can grab it. Let me grab it. 1 second.
Reminder, fans, if you're interested in asking any questions, if you're on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, go right into that chat room right there. We have folks checking those out. We'll take as many of the questions as we can over the next few minutes. But here's a great example here of the Ricky. Let me put the Ricky up also. I have it here somewhere. There's the Ricky.
Yeah. So on this Ricky, they're similar. And the way that I create my art is I hand cut stencils, which is kind of the portrait. And so like, it's pretty easy to put that on two different backgrounds. So in this case, I just wanted to test out a yellow and a green background and see which one was the most popular. And as you have in your picture behind you, this one won out. Although honestly, it ended up being closer than I anticipated. And the same thing with the Ichiro card, which I did. That was my last card released about 2 weeks ago. And I had a few different versions of that, and I was letting people choose there too. So it's not every single time, but as much as I can when it makes sense, I try and get the audience involved a little bit.
There's the Ichiro with me in the way. So let's talk a little bit about baseball. I've put some of the cards up. You've done 9 so far. You've got the 10th one out. You've done these portraits of all these athletes from soccer and baseball and football and every other sport. What's the unique challenge of taking something that's already a piece of art? That Ricky card is already a piece of art, to some degree or another. The Mariano card itself wasn't great. You've made it into something. How do you take something that's already familiar? That Jackie card is really well known. How do you turn that into something that's your own?
It's a good question. I think, I grew up collecting baseball cards, and from 1985 to 1995, my dad and I have every single card that was printed between, all the different card companies. And so it's fun because a lot of these cards that have fallen into the Project 2020 set are actually within that 85 to 95 range. So like the 87 Mark McGuire, which I did several cards ago. And so it's like really like, I don't know, it's humbling and I don't even think scary is the right word. It's exciting to like see some of these cards, like I don't remember what year, 91 Frank Thomas was also fell in that window. And so like seeing these cards that I grew up collecting and being able to have the opportunity to like kind of remix them in my own style alongside like 20 other artists that I think are amazing is just, it's a dream come true, man. And it didn't really feel real until I got my first card in my hand, which was that Nolan Ryan card. And as soon as that happened, it's like, wow, this is happening. So it's felt unreal, man. It's awesome.
So I know that you're following, like you just said, how the other artists are doing their cards. You're one of the biggest fans of everyone, it seems. You're trumpeting every time F-Dot had a card come out. You just posted something about how great it looked. And I agree. I love F-Dot stuff. It's tremendous. We're trying to get him for the program. If you talk to him, tell him he owes me a call. But I like that you're promoting the other artists, but also, are you looking at what they're doing and saying, first comparing maybe to one that you already did, or if they did one that you haven't done yet, is that influencing how you might do a card down the line?
I don't think it necessarily influences how someone does a card, but I think that all the artists have done a really good job of kind of kicking their own game up a notch. And I think that kind of the trickle down of that is like, I think that all the artists are inspiring each other, because I'm always trying to one up myself and do a better card than I did the previous time. I'm not trying to do a better card than Ben Baller or a better card than F. Dot or Gregory Siff. Because art is just so subjective, you know, and I have my own style. I have my own way of doing things, but I see these other artists pushing their own boundaries and trying to one up themselves. And I think that that's been really inspiring to like get me to want to make my next card even cooler, you know, or as cool as I possibly can.
What have you learned from card 1 to card 10? And then what do you think you'll learn from card 11 to card 20? Will you look at card 1 and then look at card 20 and feel like there's a progression, and what might that be?
Yeah, I think that for the most part, you could look at almost any artist's first 10 cards, and like I can definitely see some evolution in my own cards. I think that when the first 20 cards came out and every artist only had one card out, it was tough for the collectors to kind of visualize what these artist sets might look like, or what the player sets might look like with the same Nolan Ryan card reimagined by 20 different artists. As soon as cards like 2, 3, 4 started hitting and people started seeing like F. Dot, F. Dot, F. Dot and what those look like all together, or my own cards or anyone else's, we saw, I think, you know, we obviously saw a massive spike in attention for the project. Also in secondary market prices, that has since kind of, it's not as high as it once was. And I think that that's partially because it's like a really long set. Like we're only halfway done. And it's crazy to think about that. We've been doing this for months and we still have the whole rest of the year. And obviously there's a lot of things going on in the world that are affecting people's paychecks. They don't have a ton of disposable income to spend on a luxury item like baseball cards. So I think we're feeling a little bit of that. But yeah, I mean, I think that like we're going to see progress and evolution within each artist set. I know that I can see it in mine. And I want to make sure that at the end of the day, when my 20 cards are done, they look good standing alone. They pay kind of a tribute to the original card. I definitely want to kind of make sure that it reminds people of that original iconic card. And then also that they do look together, like good together as a cohesive set. And so I'm keeping that in mind, where like I am wanting to push the boundaries on my art, but I also want to make it, I want people to see my card and be like, that's a Blake Jamieson card, not be like, that's crazy. Who did that? You know, then in that case, I think I'd be pushing too far and straying too far from like what people have come to expect when they see my art.
And I think there are certain artists that I think for sure you can identify right away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a JK5 with the lines, and that's a Fucci with the faceless. You know, you can some of them you can tell right away. And yours, it's developed a certain style. One thing I see you've done a lot of them, and when there's an option, and maybe we'll see that when we reveal the card later, to take the smaller, if there's 2 photos on there, the smaller one becomes the bigger one and the bigger one becomes the smaller one. You've emphasized a part of the card that maybe others aren't emphasizing because it was not meant to be the primary image. Is that a decidedly, you made that choice consciously?
Yeah. And that first happened with the Don Mattingly, which is behind you. And so that one was a lot of fun. I think that, you know, with doing something like that, it's very easy to execute that type of idea, but still keep it within my style of the way that I paint my portraits. And so it was that's a perfect example of like, I can try and push the boundaries a little bit, but without straying too much away from like my style, like I said, that people kind of expect. And so that's a lot of fun. And definitely like every opportunity that I can do something like that, I plan to. Same thing with, there are not a handful. I believe there's 2 cards, the Sandy Koufax for sure. I think there might be one other that are horizontal cards.
Yeah, Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, Clemente. Yep. So I'll be doing all my cards vertical. And I had gone kind of back and forth about whether I was going to do that at the beginning. At first, I was thinking thinking that my set would look really good if it was all vertical. And then a collector reminded me that, hey, well, if I'm only collecting Roberto Clemente and then you come in and you make the only vertical card and the rest are horizontal, then you're kind of messing up my set. And so I was like, okay, that's true. And I didn't really know what the happy medium would be. And then since then, other artists have come and made some horizontal cards vertical, vertical cards horizontal. Artists are just doing their thing. So now I'm like kind of back to where I started, saying, okay, I'm going to make them all vertical. I'm going to make everything look, as a cohesive set for my set of 20.
Then you had that extra challenge of, there's the cards, there's different things. I think to me, the Mariano card as a card, not the way you did it, but as a card itself, was probably the worst card. The original Mariano card and the Jeter are probably the two worst cards out of the whole set as cards. You look at that Ricky behind you there, like that's just a great baseball card. The Jackie Robinson, the classic, that's a great baseball card. Right. Mariano's not even in his uniform.
Yep.
And he's standing up against a wall or something, a porta potty. I don't even know what it is, but you made the most of it. You made it into something.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. And it's also interesting seeing, so we all got the same reference cards, to work from. So for example, I have right here, like the Ted Williams card. So, and Top sent us these, they're like blank on the back. They're just like, they're like reprints for us to like use to reference. So I've like really tried to stick to using the photos from the card, from the original card itself. I know that some artists have gone in a little bit different direction and used other images of the players.
Even the Ted Williams, there's a lot of different interpretations of that Ted.
Totally. And so Topps has told me that if there was a specific card I wanted to find another image for, I could. And like, I think that I love Ben Baller's work. His Mariano Rivera was awesome. He did more like the Jackie Robinson kind of style, the headshot, which I just think looked amazing. But I've just made the decision within my own set of 20 that I'm going to try my best to challenge myself and just use the original photos. So yeah, I mean, that Mariano card was definitely one of the more challenging images, but it's fun. It's a fun challenge.
So we have some folks on our various social media with some comments. Brady Wright says he also likes the green better, but it's cool to see the alternative. So he appreciates that you were able to put both up there. Fern Lustig just said, these look fantastic, which I agree with you, Fern. We have a question from @JazzBealby. Jazz wants to know who you would consider your dream card to create. And it's a question that I like to ask also. If there was a card, maybe it's in your field of those years that you were collecting every single card that's not part of this set that you would love to, that card I want to do.
So I would love to do the 1985 Mark McGwire Team USA Topps, which many consider his true rookie. He's my favorite player growing up. I had a lot of cool experiences with him as a kid and my family, and we were watching him since he was in the minors, and he was on Team USA at the time. And so when I did my Mark McGwire 87 card, I kind of tried to put in a little bit. Let's see. There we go. So we still got the same pose from the 87 card.
But that's the coloration from the USA.
I did the jersey color for the Team USA, put the USA flag in the back. And so this one was a lot of fun. And so I kind of like, this was the manifestation of really wanting to kind of give a nod to the 85, but still keep it, like I said, I always want to keep the same photo. And so making sure to use the photo from the 87 was important to me there as well.
Has there been one of these cards out of the 10, 9, and we'll say 10, that have been the biggest challenge so far? And what's been that challenge to get across what you wanted to in your style?
Yeah, I think the Mariano was probably the biggest challenge, just in that, like, he wasn't in the traditional pose. So, I tried to make it fun in other ways. So like I took kind of a Metallica inspired font. I wrote New York on his shirt. I had also, I released a fanny pack, custom designed fanny pack that I made, and I stuffed it with baseball cards. And that was right around the time I was doing Mariano. So because he kind of looked like he was, at a 90s rock concert, I thought that the fanny pack could kind of work. And so I put in the fanny pack on him as well, changed his chinos to like light wash jeans. So like I was just trying to do some small things, I guess, stylistically to make the card more fun. But yeah, I'd say that one was the hardest so far.
Do you think being a baseball fan and having knowledge of, you probably knew something at least about all of these guys, helped you, or did it not matter? Did you want to just take the card? Because, with this series of 20 artists, there are some, and I've spoken to all of them one way or another. There are some that are baseball fans, you, JK5, a few of the other, Andrew Thiel, big baseball fans, all the way to Sophia Chang, who's not a baseball fan, but she has incorporated baseball things in by researching. Mm-hmm. How much of your baseball fandom reflects in the car? I mean, you put Metallica on Mariano Rivera because that he comes out to Enter Sandman.
I think that I don't think that the baseball fandom matters that much. I would say what matters more is like my being like a collector at heart, and really getting in like deep with the collector community. And that ends up turning into baseball knowledge, baseball fan related stuff. Because a lot of times the, community on Twitter will give me a bunch of ideas. Oh, you should put Sandman in Moe's card, or, oh, you should put, they're giving me all kinds of ideas. So I think that has a bigger impact on the way that the art turns out, and kind of little Easter eggs like that. Outside of somebody like Mark McGuire, who I just, grew up idolizing. And I mean, that I didn't get any feedback or from anything on this one, because I just knew exactly, I could see it in my head of exactly what I wanted to make. It would be really cool if I had kind of a story or a really great idea for all 20 cards, but
But that's interesting. You're probably the only one crowdsourcing. A lot of the artists they're definitely using social media and showing off the cards once they're done. But the pre-work on cards, I don't know that there's anyone out of the others that are doing that. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, I think the FDOT does that within his Patreon.
Oh, maybe.
I don't think too many artists are doing that. Gregory Siff has done it a little bit. But yeah, he did it kind of within we have like an artist chat going. So he did one within, crowdsourcing within the other artists, which is cool. Nice.
Well, in your artist chat, tell Gregory he also owes me an email back. I'm trying to get him for the show as well. Yeah. So that's, certainly something different about this, which definitely makes these cards unique. And, I've enjoyed seeing, now we're halfway through, I've enjoyed seeing the progression from everyone, but definitely like, what we're seeing here. So I think now is a good time for us to do our big reveal. So folks who are fans of the Project 2020 know this, but if you're not, at Topps, they issue these cards. It's not like you can just go buy any card anytime. They're issued on a specific schedule that as they come out at noon Eastern time on a certain day, every weekday, they do 2 of them. They're available only for 48 hours. And if someone buys one, they print it. If they buy 1,000 of them, they print 1,000. If they buy 900, if they buy 10,000, whatever number is purchased in those 48 hours. So you have a card coming out tomorrow, Wednesday. Yep. So if you're watching this on replay, you'll still have 48 hours from Wednesday at noon Eastern time to be able to see this until Friday at noon. So Friday, August the 7th at noon would be the deadline for this, but it's the Ted Williams card, which is the latest one, and it's one of the early cards in the series. But let me call this up. This is the first reveal, unless you did it on Facebook and I didn't see it earlier today. But here is the big reveal, which you're also revealing back in much better form there than I have. But this is neat. So the original Ted Williams card, as we were talking about earlier, those images are actually reversed in size. The headshot is larger and off to the left, and the image of, I should put that one up to, there you go. You had and the other one's off to the right and smaller, but you've reversed that. So tell me about your process in what I think this has that old timey feel. I really like it. Tell me how you came across.
I think that
process on this.
There was a few fun things about this card. So I knew after the Don Mattingly and I did the image swap, I think for the most part that was well received, and people were excited about that, and also other artists weren't doing it, and so that's always I'm always drawn to being, if I can be the first to do something, I want to be the first to do something. So that was cool, and then I decided with the full body image keeping it black and white would be fun. I don't actually do a lot of portraits black and white. And so I had a really good time doing like the full scale TED, and keeping it black and white was fun. Also, you know, I was kind of thinking about like negative space, and we can see in the card over here. So, you know, after I finish the painting, I go into Photoshop and I take elements from the original card and add it back to my card. So I put in the Ted Williams, was say outfield Boston Red Sox, and then it has his autograph. And then we end up with this kind of empty space here, which I think is fun because I've been doing a lot of artist autographs, you know, artist autographed series of my own cards. So I'll purchase my cards from Topps just like everyone else, and then I'll autograph them, and then I'll sell those on my site after the Topps sale ends. And so this is the first time that I actually like kind of intentionally ended up with a spot that would be perfect for my autograph. And I'm excited about that. I think that that's going to be fun once, like when I see the actual card in hand and I get to sign it, and then I'll feel like it's really complete. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That's neat. So we have a question from Fern Lustig. She wants to know, have you painted any Canadian athletes?
Let's see. I have
a hockey player or a basketball player.
So I painted Doug. Is Doug Gilmour Canadian?
I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, he played for the Leafs. So yeah. I think so. I'm trying to think. I painted. So one of my collectors' name is Sarah Price, and her daughter. She's from Canada. She's from Toronto, and her daughter's named Maddie Price. And Maddie Price ran track for Duke University, and also runs on the Canadian national team, representing Canada in, I believe, I don't know if Olympics and other like international stuff. So their family's been incredibly supportive for me through my artist journey. So they have like half a dozen paintings. I painted the whole family. Yeah, those ones come to mind. Also, he's on the Leafs. I don't know if he's Canadian, but John Tavares.
Yeah, used to be on the Islanders.
Cool.
For a long time. So yeah, that's neat. So what else are you working on now? What other project you have going?
Yeah. So the Topps thing definitely keeps me very busy. I've been very lucky that I have an amazing team that helps me with the actual production workflow and preparing cards to sign and shipping them out. So now we're kind of got our systems in place, and one of my goals for hiring a team is to spend as much as I can painting things or signing things, because those are the only things that are like exclusive to me. Everything else that can be outsourced, I believe should be, or delegated. Outsourced is the wrong word. And so now that I have a little bit more free time because my team is helping with a lot of the logistics of the business, I've been able to start doing commissioned works again. So I do have a waiting list about 2.5 or 3 months, which is it's a position I've never been in as a full-time artist, to have people, you know, begging to pay me money to paint for them. But now that I have the team here and they're crushing it, I've been able to continue working on stuff like that. So I'll usually alternate. I do quite a bit of charity work where I will donate a blank canvas to like Make-A-Wish, for example, every year. They auction it off. The winner gets to choose whatever I paint. So I have, between my commission waiting list and charity commitments I've already made, I'm basically alternating. I'll do one commission, one charity piece, one commission, one charity piece. And so anytime that I'm not working on the Topps project, I'm working on one of those.
How many of the remaining 10 cards have you kind of plotted out and figured out what you're going to do? And then what's the next one?
So my next card is Ken Griffey Jr., and it's very close to done. I don't actually know any cards after that. Topps only gives us 2 at a time now. I do have Doc Gooden pretty close to done. And then the other 8 I have not started yet.
Right. Well, it's been great to catch up with you and just kind of learn some of your process. I think that's, the crowdsourcing part is great. And just learning a little bit more about your thoughts on how you're, putting these together, and your background has been something that I think fans have a lot of interest in. BlakeTheArtist.com is the best website to go to, correct?
Actually, for athlete stuff, Pro Athlete Portraits. I know it's confusing. I have a ton of websites, and we're working on consolidating all those into one. But yeah, I think for my athlete stuff, proathleteportraits.com is the best. But Blake the Artist works too. It just is less athlete focused and more other general art.
And then what's the Twitter handle? It's just at Blake.
Twitter is just at Blake Jamieson.
At Blake Jamieson. Don't forget the I in the middle of Jamieson. You can
That's
see
right.
the name. I don't know if I'm on the left or right of your screen, but then his name is in the bottom corner there. But
awesome.
Blake, it's been great spending some time with you tonight. Thanks so much for taking time and for the great work you've done on the first 10, and looking forward to the next 10.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
And thank you for watching today on Wizard World Virtual Experiences. Don't forget, we've got coming up on Thursday, folks from The Nanny, artists or actors from The Nanny will be on that series. Wiz Quiz on Thursday evening with Mike Gregoric. Happy birthday, Mike. The X-Men animated series. We'll have some folks from that on Friday. Saturday, Lego Masters. And then on August 22nd, the cast of Smallville. I'm Jerry Milani for Blake Jamieson. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on Wizard World Virtual Experiences.